Good afternoon to all the students. In today's session, we are going to discuss the concept on pointers to objects. That is, we are going to discuss that this pointer. We'll discuss what is the use of this pointer, and we also discuss some of the programs related to this pointer and some of the applications of this pointer. Right. So this is a keyword. Don't get confused with this term. So this is a keyword that is used in the C++ programming. Right. So in the last class we have seen the pointers to class, where I have created a pointer to a class and I have stored the address of the object of that class, and by which I am going to access the member functions of the class. Right. So all these things we have discussed, and in today's session we are going to discuss the pointers to objects. So we know that an object is nothing but an instance of a class, and the memory for the object will be created once you instantiate the class. That means instantiation means nothing but you create an object for the class. So you don't have any memory allocated for a class. That point we are all very clear, right? So the object, the memory will be created only when we create an object, and we know that if the memory is created, then it should have some address. Right. That means there exists a special pointer. There exists a special pointer by which we can access that particular object. So we know that, coming to the actual discussion, so coming to pointers to objects, we know that a variable that holds the address of another variable is called as a pointer variable, or we can simply call it as a pointer. Right. And similarly, objects can also have an address, and so there is also a pointer that can point to the address of an object. Right. So as I told that when you create an object, the memory will be allocated. When the memory is allocated, then we have an address. When we have an address, then we can have a pointer to that object. So the pointer to that object is known as this pointer. So as and when you create an object from a class, you have a special pointer by which you can access the member functions and as well as the member variables of that particular class. The special pointer that points to an object of a class is called as this pointer. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So every object in C++ has access to its own address through an important pointer called as this pointer. This is what we have discussed in the previous slide also, right? Every class can be used by creating an object, and once you create an object, you have the memory address. Once you have a memory address, you can have a pointer to it, and the pointer to any object is called as this pointer in C++. And this pointer is an implicit parameter to all the member functions. Right. So whatever member function you have in the class, once you instantiate the class, the memory will be allocated, and that object will be having its individual data members and member functions. Right. So this implicitly, the compiler, what it will do is it will simply pass this pointer to all the member functions. So any member function you take in the class, it should have, or it will have, a special pointer to an object which it invokes. Right. For example, how can a member function be activated? Anybody please respond. How can you activate a member function?
Through an object.
Through an object. Super, right? So in order to activate an object, in order to activate a member function, you have to use the object, and you have to use the member access operator object dot member function, right? So when you invoke a function using an object, the member functions are implicitly passed a special pointer which is called as the this pointer, and this pointer can be used to invoke the implicitly. That means as you know that the member function can be invoked by objects, and the object can be accessed by this pointer, right? So that is the second point he is discussing, the other is discussing that this pointer is an implicit parameter to all the member functions of a class. Therefore inside a member function this may be used to refer to the invoking object, right? There is no need to specially pass the object as a parameter to the member functions. Why? Because we have a parameter, we have a pointer that points to the object, so that this pointer can be used to invoke the objects or to refer to the invoking objects, right? For example, if I write a statement like obj dot abc, right? So this obj is not required to pass to the abc function. Why? Because we have a this pointer that refers to this obj object, and that this pointer can be used inside this abc function, right? That is the reason why there is no need to pass this object as one of the parameter. And we have seen a concept previously that we have some friend functions. What is the use of friend functions? Can anybody tell me?
To access private members.
Super, right? Friend functions are used to access the private members of a class. At the point of discussion of friend functions, you might have remembered that I told that the friend functions cannot be treated as the member functions of a class. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
So in such case, here I am saying that this pointer is an implicit parameter to all the member functions. So if a class is having any friend function, does it have any this pointer? Right, I am claiming two statements. One is this pointer is passed as an implicit parameter to all the member functions. Listen carefully. And the second statement what I am claiming is friend function is not a member function. Now by these two statements, my question is whether the friend functions have this pointer or not.
No, sir.
No,
No, sir.
right? So this pointer is available only to the member functions of a class, so that this pointer cannot be used inside the friend function. The reason is the friend function cannot be considered as the member functions of a class, right? So the last 2 points are giving this idea, right? So friend functions do not have this pointer because friend functions are not the members of a class. Similarly, the member functions can only have this pointer. These are the important points you should remember here. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So this is nothing but a keyword that is used to refer to the current instance of a class. The current instance of a class is nothing but the current object, right? So if somebody says that what is an instance of a class, you can blindly say that an instance of a class is nothing but an object. So this is a keyword that refers to the current object, right? And since it is a pointer, it is capable of holding the address of the current object. I am saying that this is a keyword which refers to the current object, and I am saying that this is a pointer. So we can combine those two statements saying that this pointer holds the address of the current object, right? In simple words, we can say that this pointer points to the current object of the class. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we will see the three main usages of this keyword in the C++. Right. The first one is we can use the this pointer to pass current object as a parameter to another method. Right. So by using this pointer we can pass the objects as parameters to functions. And the second advantage we have with this keyword is it can be used to refer to current class instance variable. The primary purpose of this pointer itself is it refers to the current object, right? And this is very important. The last usage of this keyword is it is used to implement the chained function calls. What do you understand by the term chained function calls?
The function calls are connected.
Right. So the function calls are occurring in the recursive manner. That means they are occurring in a connected manner. That means, for example, if I have two functions a, b, c and x, y, z. Till now I know how to invoke the function abc using object o. Right. How can I invoke the function abc? I can do it by o dot abc. Right. And I can invoke the function xyz by using the object o like this, o dot xyz. Right. Till now you can only invoke one function, one member function using the object of that particular class. But because of this pointer, we can combine the invoking of these functions as a sequential fashion. That means you can combine the invoking of abc and xyz in a single statement. For example, I can write the chained function calls like this. So o dot abc dot xyz. Like that, this particular chain of function calls can be extended to any level. So if you have 5 member functions and you want to invoke all the 5 member functions in a single shot, then you can do it by making use of chained function calls. And remember that the chained function calls makes use of the concept called this pointer. So when you are able to return this pointer, then you can invoke or you can implement this chained function calls. So the underlying concept for implementation of the chained function calls is nothing but return of this pointer. So if a function is capable of returning this pointer, then you can implement the chained function calls for that particular class. Is it clear up to this point? So if I write
Yes,
a
sir.
statement like this, o dot abc dot xyz dot something like that. So here you have this abc. So the object o invokes abc first, and then it invokes xyz first later, and this invoking will be done in a sequential fashion. So abc will be invoked and then xyz, like that. You can invoke a sequence of functions by sequence of function calls. That concept we are calling it as a chained function call. We will explain this with one example, don't worry. Is it clear up to this point? So the main usages of this keyword is it can be used to pass the current object as a parameter to any function, and it is used to refer to the current object, and mainly it is used to implement the chained function calls concept. So if it is clear, we will just move through the programming part.
Clear, sir.
Right.
Clear, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is an example for this pointer, implementation of this pointer. So I know what is this IO stream is, and similarly what is this std, everything I know. And here what is the name of the class that I have created?
Employee.
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 What are the data members I have?
ID,
Int ID, string
salary.
name.
ID,
Super,
name,
right. ID,
salary.
name and salary, which has the data types as int, string and float respectively. And what is this function called?
Parameterized.
It is a
Parameterized
parameterized
constructor.
constructor, right? So the parameterized constructor is accepting three parameters: id, name, and salary. So these id, name, and salary are from the user. So when the user creates an object or instantiates the class, at that time the user will be passing the parameters, the three parameters, with respect to the id, name, and salary. So this id, name, and salary are related to the values that are passed by the user, right? So in this, in the body of this constructor, parameterized constructor, I am just making use of this statement, right? This arrow id is equal to id, this arrow name is equal to name, this arrow salary is equal to salary. Like that I am making use of it, right? And after that I am using another function called void display, where I am displaying the id, name, and salary that are related to that particular object which it has invoked, right? And coming to the main function, I have created an object called e1. And can anybody tell me what is this particular statement doing?
Explicit calling.
Right. So it is not implicit, it is an explicit calling to the parameterized constructor. It creates an object e1 and it is explicitly calling the constructor, the parameterized constructor, with 101 as id and Sonu as name and 8,09,000 as the salary, right? Similarly, I am creating another employee object, that is e2, and I am explicitly invoking the parameterized constructor with the id as 102 and name as Nakul and salary as 59,000, right? So when I create this object, what is happening? For the employee object, what are the data members I have? For e1, what are the
ID,
data members
name,
I
and
have?
salary.
So this is e1 and the data members are id, name, and salary. All these data members will be exclusively present with this particular object e1. Similarly, what are the functions it is having? It will be having its own constructor, parameterized constructor, and it also has the function called display. Similarly, when I create an object e2, it also has id, name, and salary, and along with it it is having the employee and display functions. So what is the id for e1? It is 101 and it is Sonu, and the salary is 8,90,000, and the id for e2 is 102 and the name is Nakul, and here I have the salary as 59,000. So this is how these two statements are executed. Once you execute these statements, every object will be created like this. Memory will be there for this. Assume that this is base address 1000 and this is having the base address 2000. So I can store this thousands base address inside this pointer, right? It's not the programmer that is doing the task of storing 1000 inside this pointer, but the compiler will automatically store the address of the current object inside this pointer. This is the important point you should remember, right? Is it clear? So how this id, name, and salary are getting 101 Sonu and salary as 8,90,000, and how this e2 members id, name, and salary are getting the values as 102 Nakul and 59,000, right? This is done by invoking the parameterized constructor, right? So whatever value that is passed here, 101, that is passed to this id, and the name Sonu, again this passed to the name, and 8,90,000, this is passed to the salary. and in the body of the function we have given this arrow id is equal to id, this arrow name is equal to name, and this salary is equal to salary, right? See here, previously also we have done some programs related to the parameterized constructor, but we have not used any this pointer for it, right? But here we are using the this pointer. Can anybody tell me the reason? Do you have any idea? Previously also in the lot of programs we have used the parameterized constructor. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
no,
sir.
but nowhere we have used the this pointer. Why we are going to use the this pointer, especially in this case only, or in this program only? Right. Listen carefully. What is the name of the actual data member? What are the actual names of the data members? It is ID, and then we have the
Name.
name, and we have
Name
the
and
salary,
salary.
Salary, sir.
right? And what are the parameters that are accepted by this constructor? It is again ID and name and salary, right? If I
Sir.
have given the name of this parameter or parameterized constructor as id1, listen carefully, this is important point, and if I have given the parameter name of string as name1 and float as salary1, then there is no need to use the this pointer. You can simply say that id is equal to id1, name is equal to name1, salary is equal to salary1. This will perfectly work. But whenever you are giving the external names or the parameter names that are similar to that of the data members that is present inside the class, right? Let me clear
Yes,
this
sir.
one. Wait, let me clear this one. So here you can observe that the names of the data members of the class and the names of the parameters are exactly matching. ID, name, salary, right? In such case, you have to distinguish the object's ID with the parameter that is passed by the user, right? Similarly, you have to distinguish the name which belongs to the object with this name which is accepted as a parameter from the user. Similarly, you have to distinguish the salary. This salary is a member. This ID, the LHS, if you find the LHS of these equations, so the left hand side is ID, name and salary. These three ID, name and salary belongs to the data members of the employee class. That means if you invoke an object or if you invoke this constructor, parameterized constructor by using an object, so the left hand side belongs to the object and the right hand side ID, name and salary, which are exactly written as similar to that of the names of the data members, I should distinguish these two, right? I have to say that the left hand side part belongs to the object data members and the right hand side part belongs to the parameters that are passed by the user. For that purpose, I have to tell that this ID belongs to the object and the name belongs to the object and the left hand side salary belongs to the object. So this is done by telling the compiler by making use of this keyword, right? So if I say this I am saying that this is a pointer, so when you make use of pointer, what is the operator that you have to use to access the data members? Is it dot or arrow?
Arrow, sir.
Arrow, right? So by making use of this pointer which refers to the current object and the arrow member access operator and ID, the left hand side part I am saying that the compiler please treat this left hand side part ID as the data member of the object which it is invoking. Similarly, the name is the data member of the object which it is invoking. The salary is the data member of the object. Right. And whatever the right hand part, without this they are taken from here. Is it clear?
Sir, clear, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
if I write the statements like ID is equal to
Yes,
ID,
sir.
name is equal to name, and salary is equal to salary, is there any meaning in these statements? The compiler will get confused which ID to be taken for the object. Am I going to assign the object's ID to the parameter, or am I going to assign the parameter to the object's ID? So the compiler will get confusion. In order to avoid that confusion, you should say that the LHS part of the equation belongs to the object. So in order to say that this LHS belongs to the object, you have to use the this pointer like this. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
whatever values the user is passing, the 101, Sonu and 8.9 lakhs, it is passed to this ID, name and salary, and this is how I am assigning it to the object E1 ID, and I am assigning Sonu to the object name of E1, and I am assigning salary, that is 8.9 lakhs, to the salary of object E1, and I am just displaying it. Nothing to discuss on this display, right? It will just invoke the function display and then it will print the ID, name and salary accordingly. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
in order to avoid the confusion for the compiler, we will make use of this pointer whenever this is required only when you are taking the parameter names and the data member names similarly, right? When you are taking the similar names to both the parameters and the data members of a class, you have to make use of this pointer to tell the compiler that that particular data member belongs to the current object, right? If it is clear, we can go, we can proceed.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
See here, here is another example for the this pointer, right? Here what I am going to do is I am going to compare the volumes of two boxes. We are familiar with this box class, right? Previously also we have seen one program on this box. So we are clear about IOStream std. I have created a box class and this is the parameterized constructor, right? Box double L is equal to 2.0, double B is equal to 2.0, and these are the default values I am giving to the parameters, right? See here, if you observe this particular constructor here, it is a parameterized constructor. Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
The first statement is I am just printing the constructor called, and after that I am assigning the L to length, B to breadth and H to height. Here you can observe that you are not using the this pointer. Why? Because the data members are given the names as length, breadth and height, but the parameters are having the names as L, B and H, right? So since there is a difference in the names of the parameters and the data member names, there is no need to use this pointer. For example, instead of length I have L, instead of breadth I have B, instead of height I have H. In such case I have to write the statements like this arrow L is equal to L, and this arrow B is equal to B, and this arrow H is equal to H, to distinguish the parameter names with the data member names. So the left hand side L, B, H belongs to the length, breadth and height of the current object which is invoking this parameterized constructor, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now I have defined another function to calculate the volume. So I have given the name as volume and the return type is double and it is accepting no parameters, and a simple statement for the body of this volume function is return of length star breadth star height, right? Now
Ye-
coming to another function, this is another function I have given in the box. So I am going to compare the volume of two boxes. For this purpose I am making use of a function called compare, right? How many parameters it is accepting?
One
Pli-
parameter.
One parameter. What is that parameter? To what data type it belongs?
Volume.
Box of data type box.
It belongs to box data type, right? Box is a class and it accepts only one parameter, that belongs to box. And what is the return type of this compare function? Int, right? So here also there is a simple statement for this compare function where I am returning the value after comparing the volumes of two boxes, right? You can see here that volume is a function which I am invoking with this pointer, and volume is another function which I am invoking with box. So if you observe the difference, what is this box? What is this box?
Parameter.
Class.
Yes, sir.
Class, sir.
No, it's not class. The box which I have rectangle, I have kept the rectangle, right? This is an object and this is the parameter I am accepting from the user, this one. And what is this pointer is doing here? It is invoking the volume function of the current object. I will tell you what the current object is, right? In general, how many parameters should be there for comparison? I want to compare the volumes of two boxes. So in general, how many parameters you are expecting?
2, sir.
Two parameters. So I should write a function like int compare box 1 comma box 2. Right, now what I will do is return of box 1 dot volume greater than box 2 dot volume. If I write like this, nothing is there, right? It is very much clear that you are going to compare the volumes of box 1 and box 2 which is given by the user, right? So box 1 I am invoking the volume of function of box 1 and I am comparing the result with volume function of box 2, and whichever is greater it will return that value, right? Is it clear up to this point? But here I am not taking two parameters. Even though I am comparing two objects, I am taking only one parameter, and implicitly, as I know that the current object address is stored inside this pointer, I am taking advantage of that particular concept and I am making use of only one parameter for taking the volume of the second box, right? So the volume function of the current object is invoked by this pointer. So this is how we can make use of this pointer to invoke the functions of current object. Current object means whatever function it is, whatever object it is invoking, that is taken as the current object, right? So in the yesterday's example also I have seen, I told that there is no need that you should always place the data members first and then the definition of the member functions, right? You can swap them. So in this example I have taken the member function definitions and after that I have declared the data members which are private scope, which are in private scope. Right, is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Now coming to the main
Yes, sir.
function, I am creating box 1 object with 3 parameters where the length is 3.3 and breadth is 1.2 and height is 1.5, right? And similarly I am creating another box, another object box 2 with length 8.5, breadth 6 and height is equal to 2.0. Right. Now you can observe here, this is very important. So if I am using a if condition, if box 1 dot compare of box 2, right, I am invoking compare function of which box or which object?
Box 1, sir.
Right, so
Box
I am
one.
in super right, I am invoking the compare function of box 1. So my current object will be box 1, right? So what does this pointer pointing to? Is it to box 1 or box 2?
Box 1.
Box 1. As I told that this pointer points to the current object. Here the current object is the object which invokes the function. So compare is a function that is invoked by object box 1. Therefore my current object is box 1. Therefore my this pointer is pointing to box 1. So this pointer in this compare function at this particular scenario is referred to as box 1 object. So box 1 volume is invoked, and what is the volume of box 1? It is 3.3 into 1.2 into 1.5, right? And then it is box 2. Box 2 is passed from here to here. Now box 2 has been named as box. So box 2's volume is invoked here and it is compared. What is the volume here? 8.5 into 6.0 into 2.0. Now tell me whether this condition is true or false. Just to have an blind.
False.
It is a false condition, right? Why? Because 3.3 into 1.2 into 1.5 will be less than 8.5 into 6.0 into 2.0. So if this condition is false, it is not going to execute the if body. So this is not going to be executed, this one. So it is going to execute the else body. So what does it mean? If box 1 volume is not greater than box 2, means box 2 can be either equal to or larger than box 1. So that is the statement, I am just printing it. So the else part is executed in this particular scenario. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Right. So
Yes,
this is
sir.
an example showing how we can use this pointer to invoke the functions by using the current object. Right. Here this particular statement is important. This one, box 1 dot compare box 2. So I am invoking the compare function with box 1. Therefore box 1 becomes my current object, and therefore this pointer in the volume function is in the compare function is referring to box 1. That is the important point. You should keep it in mind, right? Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
those are the two examples we have for this pointer. And as I told that one of the usage of this pointer is we can implement the chained function calls concept. We can implement the chained function calls concept. That means you can use a single object to invoke multiple member functions. That is nothing but the chained function call. Right. This is possible only when we have a provision to return this pointer. we have a specialized syntax to return the this pointer that we will see, and then we will go through a program, right? So when a reference to a local object is returned, what is the reference to a local object called as?
This pointer.
This pointer, right? When a reference to a local object is returned, the returned reference can be used to implement the chained function calls on a single object. Chained function calls is a simple concept where you are going to invoke the multiple functions in a single shot by using a single object. You can use only one object and we can invoke the multiple functions or the member functions of the class in a single shot, right? So this is the syntax of returning the this pointer or the reference to the local object, which is also called as this pointer, right? So this is nothing but the name of the class, and this is the scope resolution operator. We know how to write the functions, right? See here.
Yes, sir.
So this tells that belongingness. So the function func belongs to test class. That is what this scope resolution operator is telling to us, right? And you can observe the return type of the function, that is test ampersand, right? So when you return the this pointer, it is mandatory that you should use the reference operator, right? So test ampersand means I can assume that the function is returning a this pointer. So this point is very important. And second point is you do some processing here, or you write some number of steps in the function. I'm not bothered about it, right? But what I'm going to concentrate is how we are going to return the this pointer. That is done by using the statement return star this. This is important, another important point. So these 2 points are important. The last return statement with star this and the return type of the function with class name and ampersand symbol. This is the reference and this is the dereference operator. Yesterday we have gone through this. Is it clear up to the syntax?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here is an example of the chained function calls. Here I have created a class called test, which consists of 2 private members x and y of type integer, and I have a parameterized constructor here. See here, am I using the this pointer here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why I am using the this pointer?
Same variable name, sir.
Right. The parameter name is same as that of the data member name, x. Similarly y. In such case, in order to make the compiler clear about which parameter or which variable belongs to the current object and which variable belongs to the parameter, we should make use of the this pointer, right? So this is a parameterized constructor with 2 parameters x and y. These x and y are from the user, and this arrow x refers to the current object, and this x refers to the parameter that is passed by the user. Right. Here this is clear, you know very well, right? And coming to these 2 functions, concentrate here. So what is the name of the function?
Set x.
Set x, right? And it is accepting only one parameter, right? I am not defining this function. This is a member function. Set x and set y print are the member functions, right? I am not defining the member functions outside the class. If I define outside the class, then I should write them as test ampersand and then test scope resolution operator, and then I should write it as set x int a, and you write the body of the function. But since I am defining the function, member function inside the class itself, there is no need to tell the belongingness. So I simply write it as test ampersand followed by name of the function and the parameter list. Right. Here you can see what I am doing in this set x. I am just assigning the value of a to x. I am just assigning the value of a to x. But if you take this a as x, then what is the modification you have to perform here? So instead of a, I am taking it as x. For that, what I have to do?
This arrow x equals to x.
This arrow.
Super. This arrow x is equal to x. So you are clear about this concept. So I am not going to discuss that one. Right. So in this particular set x function, I am just assigning the value of a, which is accepted as the parameter from the user, to the data member x. And see this syntax. I am returning the pointer of the current object. Right. What is the current object? The current object is nothing but the object which is used to invoke that function. That is called as current object. So if you look at the main function statements, we have this statement, right? Object 1 dot set x of 10. So what is the current object here? What is
obj1.
obj1, right? So why the current object is nothing but the object which is used to invoke the functions, right? So similarly, I have written the set y function. I have written the definition for set y function, which accepts only one parameter, and within the body of set y, I am using I am assigning the given value by the user to y data member, and I am returning the current object's pointer, which is nothing but this, by using the syntax return star this, right? And you can see that the return type is test and the reference operator. Similarly, the for set x also I have the return type as text ampersand. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have defined another member function inside my class, which is called as print, which I am going to print the x and y values. Forget about this one. So coming to the main function, I create an object obj1 for test class with two parameters 5 and 5. Right. So this is my obj1 object. It is having two parameters x and y, and since I invoked the parameterized constructor, x is assigned a value of 5 and y is assigned a value of pi by this function. And then if you observe this statement, see here, by making use of single object, obj1, I am invoking two functions at a stretch, right? So I am invoking set x of 10. So the set of x of 10 will be invoked, and the value which is given by the user, which is 10, is assigned to x of this obj1. Previously, what is the value they are having? X is having 5. So after invoking this function, since I have passed 10 as the parameter to set x function and I am assigning the value of 10 to x, the 5 will be overwritten with 10, right? And after that, immediately I am invoking, since this is only possible, I am invoking another function called set y with 20, right? So it will invoke the function set y, and 20 is passed to b, and I am assigning 20 to y. So the previous value 5 will be overwritten with 20. So this chained function call is only possible. Why? Because you are returning the object of the current, you are returning the pointer to the current object, that is obj1, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now
Yes,
I am just
sir.
I am just invoking the print
Yes, sir.
function, and it will print the values of x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 20. This is how the invoking or the chain function calls is implemented. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let me take another example, one simple example. Can you see this screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This online C++ compiler. Right. This is same to that of them, but I just want to demonstrate you the chain function calls. Right. See here. You can see this screen, right? The online GDB.
Yes, sir.
So what is the name of the
Yes, sir.
class?
Demo.
Demo.
I have two private data members, num and ch. Num is of type integer and ch is of type character, and I am using two functions to set the values of character and number. Right. So I am using the function called setNum to set the data member num, and I am using the function setCH to set the value of ch, which is a data member of demo. Right. So how many parameters the setNum is accepting? It is accepting only one parameter, that is num, and it is returning the address of the class. Right. So here this num is equal to num. Why I am using this here? Why I am using this arrow here? Why? Because the parameter name for this function is equivalent, or it is similar to that of the name of the data member. Right. And what is the last statement I have here? Return star this. And after this I am defining another function called setCH, which accepts only one parameter ch, and it is returning the reference to the class demo. Right. Here you can see I can write this ch is equal to ch, and then I can write this return star dh, this. But the other is trying to say that this arrow num plus plus. Right. That means before setting the value of ch, which is a private data member of the demo class, I am just incrementing the value of num. I am just incrementing the value of num. Right. And then the display function, which is displaying the num and ch values. Right. Now look at this main function. I am creating an obj object for demo class, and look at this example. Here I am invoking the chained function call. I am invoking the setNum. So the setNum will be invoked with a parameter 100. Therefore the num value which is present inside the, listen carefully, are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
what
Yes, sir.
happens to the value of num for the demo object? What is the value for num?
100, sir.
It is 100.
101,
Right.
sir.
It is 100. Initially when it invokes this setNum, it is 100. And after that immediately I am invoking setCH of obj using chained function call, and I am setting the ch of the object with a character called a. Since it is character, I am just placing it inside the single quotations. That's the difference. That's nothing but, right. But before setting this character to the data member, what is that I am using here? What is that I am using in
Dot
as the
operator.
first statement in set ch?
Increment operator.
I am incrementing the num parameter inside set ch, right? So this is also executed. The increment part of num is also executed. So what happens to the value of num now? Previously it is 100, but I have used the increment operator num plus plus. So what happens to the value of num?
Hundred and one.
It becomes 101, right? And if I call this function obj dot display my values, so what happens here? What are the values that is printed?
101.
101. And what about the ch? I am also printing the ch. Yeah, right. See here, the output you got is 101 and a. The point you have to observe here is you can make modifications to the previous members. We can make modifications to the data members inside the functions, and during the chained function calls, the modifications that you do to the data members will be affected, right? So what are modifications you do for the data members? They are going to be incorporated in the member functions. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. So
Yes,
this is
sir.
all about today's session. We have discussed the pointers to object, and we have clearly discussed that this pointer, the purpose of this pointer, what happens if this is not given, and why we should use this pointer even though we are not using it in the previous scenarios. Now what is the purpose to use this pointer? With one programming example we have discussed, and then we have demonstrated the application of the pointers to object called chained function calls. Chained function calls is nothing but you are going to invoke the number of functions as a chain, as a sequence, with a single stretch or with a single object, right? So we have demonstrated with one example also, and finally we have ended up our discussion by discussing or by demonstrating a simple program that the member functions, the data members can be modified using the chained function calls also, right? So out of these two function calls, which function is invoked first? Is it set ch or set num?
Set num, sir.
Set num, sir.
Right. So let us try an example. Right. Let us exchange these functions. And then display the values. Yeah. Now tell me what will be the output for this second part. First part we are clear that it is 101 for num and a for ch. What happens here?
A and 100.
Right.
Same,
First,
sir. A has 100.
a and 100 is not a and 101. Why? Because initially the set ch will be invoked. By the time the set ch is invoked, num is having some garbage value and you have incremented that garbage value. And after that, once you invoke this set num, we are modifying the garbage value, or we are resetting the garbage value with 100. So when you display these values, you will get it as the a and 100 or 100 and a. Right, let us see. See here. So the first set of output is 101 followed by a, and the second set is 100 and a. Is it clear? So the way in which it is going to invoke in the chained function calls is from left to right. You just remember that point. Right. If it is clear, we can just stop our discussion here.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Right. Thank you, one and
Clear,
all.
sir.
This is all about today's session, and tomorrow we'll continue with the pointers concept, and we try to complete the pointers concept by tomorrow, so that we can go to the concept of binding by next week, in the next week, right? So thank you, one and all.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.